He didn't fall in battle, he just couldn't move. One moment he was Spider-Man, the next just Peter Parker. And while Earth burned, he watched from the shadows. Iron Man was gone. Thor vanished. Hulk never came back. So when Hope died, two legends crossed the line. Superman tore through dimensions to find him. Wolverine fought what gods feared. And, together, they became Spider-Man's final hope. The sky tore open above Manhattan like it had a heartbeat of its own. Not thunder, not lightning, something deeper. Peter Parker landed hard on the rooftop, knees buckling under his own weight. Sweat poured down his face, not from exertion, but from fear. His left wrist jerked forward. Nothing. No web. No sound. No grip. He tried again. Right wrist this time. Click. Click. Silence. His eyes widened behind the mask. His spider sense? Gone. The buzz that once danced on his skin whenever danger approached. Silent. The city screamed below him. Buildings cracked. A glass skyscraper folded in half like paper. And still nothing in his veins. No power. No warning. His legs gave out again. He crawled back, dragging himself with shaking arms across the gravel-lined rooftop. Below, the news helicopters captured everything. But they didn't see him, not like this. Not like Peter. What had taken his power? He remembered the moment. Just hours ago, the fight started like any other. A strange ripple in the sky, a surge of energy downtown, civilians running, heroes responding. But when he swung into action, it was already too late. This wasn't just a threat. This was something alive, something feeding. An entity made of dark matter and void, wearing a cracked metal face and a body of living stars. No one knew its name then. Now they called it one thing, the Core Eater. It didn't just destroy cities, it erased gifts, powers, abilities, everything that made heroes different. Captain Marvel vanished in a scream. Doctor Strange's spell folded in on itself and swallowed his hands. And Peter had landed, thrown a punch, and felt nothing. The Core Eater didn't even look at him. It simply turned, opened its core, a swirling, pulsing black wound, and Peter's limbs froze. Web fluid collapsed. Muscles loosened. The spider was gone. Now he sat alone. No backup. No signal. No hope. Until the wind shifted. A sonic boom echoed. Just one. Not from jets. From something faster. Peter looked up. The clouds above him peeled apart like they were being pulled by a gravitational fist. A man hovered in the air. The cape told him everything. Red, fluttering in the wind like it remembered another Earth. Peter squinted. He didn't believe it at first. Superman. He dropped to the roof, silent, powerful, focused. His boots crushed gravel like it was paper. He didn't need to ask where Peter was. He already knew. Peter sat up, but barely. You're not from here. I'm not, Superman replied calmly. But I heard your world scream. Peter wanted to laugh. You're Superman, from the other universe. DC. Superman nodded once. And you're Spider-Man. Or you were. Peter flinched. The words cut. Not out of cruelty, but out of truth. Superman scanned him with his eyes, X-ray, thermal, layers of senses Peter couldn't imagine. It drained you, stripped the enhanced cells. Your DNA is folding in on itself. Yeah, Peter muttered. So I'm just a guy now, a guy in tights watching people die. Superman sat beside him, cape spreading across the gravel. This world doesn't need just power, he said quietly. It needs people who care. Peter shook his head. You don't get it. I could have saved a school bus. I could have saved a mom and her kid. But the moment I tried, nothing. I watched them fall. Superman closed his eyes for a second. Not out of pity, out of understanding. I watched my father die too. Could have saved him. Didn't. Not because I couldn't. Because he told me not to. Some days, I still ask if that was weakness or wisdom. Peter looked up at him. You came here. Why? Because you're not the only one who's lost something. And I'm not the only one who heard your name when your city cried out. Before Peter could ask what he meant, a growl echoed from behind. Low, animalistic, cold. Enough talk. They turned. Logan stood on the rooftop edge, no costume, just the torn leather jacket, the claws halfway unsheathed, eyes burning. "Get up, Parker," he snapped. Peter blinked. Logan. Wolverine stepped forward, boots soaked in blood, chest cut wide open and already healing. "I've been tracking that thing for 2 days across continents. It's not hunting power, it's hunting identity. You lost your gift? Fine. But the core eater didn't kill Spider-Man." He jabbed a finger at Peter's chest. "You did, when you stopped moving." Peter stood, wobbled, caught by Superman. Logan stepped closer. "I ain't here to cuddle. I came to finish what we all started. And that means we need someone smart enough to outthink it, not just punch it." Peter stared at them. Two legends from different worlds. One with a healing factor and claws sharp enough to rip through tanks. The other with eyes that could melt stars. And here he was, powerless, broken, useless, but alive. Logan stepped away. "There's a storm coming. You want to stay here and cry, fine. But that thing already took Stark. It ate Thor. Strange is missing. Carol's signal's dead. You want to wait till it feeds again." Superman looked at Peter. "I've seen what happens when heroes give up. Universes burn." Peter looked down at his shaking hands. They didn't glow. They didn't twitch with spider sense. Just fingers, flesh and bone. But Logan was right. Maybe Spider-Man wasn't about power. Maybe it was about standing up, even when you had nothing left. Peter lifted his chin. "Let's finish this." Superman nodded. Wolverine smirked. Behind them, the sky cracked again. The core eater was moving, and Earth's final hope had just taken its first step. The world didn't end in fire, it ended in silence. The kind that followed every lost scream. Superman hovered over the ocean, his cape soaked with ash, eyes scanning what was left of New York. Entire districts were now islands, swallowed by the core eater's gravitational wake. Buildings floated mid-air like torn pieces of a forgotten dream. He could hear heartbeats fading under rubble, each one fainter than the last. Logan's voice cut through the wind. "You see it now, don't you? This ain't a war, it's a feeding ground." Superman turned, his eyes glowing faintly red. "It's worse. It's consuming the planet's magnetic core. Every power source, every mutation, every photon, it's all fuel to it." Wolverine snorted, flicking alien blood off his claws. "Good. Gives me something to cut." Peter stumbled up from the cracked bridge, clutching an old Stark Tech communicator he'd scavenged from debris. "If it's feeding on power, we can't just hit it harder. We need to starve it." Superman landed beside him. "Explain." Peter pointed to the device, half crushed and sparking. This was a prototype arc reactor. It creates artificial energy loops. Stark was testing it for multiversal rifts. If we overload it and feed it to that thing, it'll eat itself inside out. Logan crossed his arms. "You're talking about luring a cosmic parasite with candy and hope it chokes." Peter smirked faintly. "You got a better idea?" Superman looked between them. "We do this together. No one goes alone." Logan looked away. "Together, huh? Last time I heard that word, half the X-Men didn't come back." The wind howled across the bridge, carrying the faint sound of thunder that wasn't thunder. The core eater was moving again. It appeared on the horizon, a swirling void with a humanoid outline, taller than skyscrapers, body shimmering like liquid night. Every step distorted space, and gravity bent toward it like worship. Superman clenched his fists. "If it absorbs kinetic force, then we'll keep it distracted. Parker, get that reactor ready." Peter's hands trembled as he adjusted the broken wires. His mask was torn, face streaked with soot. He wasn't Spider-Man anymore, not really. But the muscle memory of saving people wouldn't die. Superman shot into the sky, a crimson blur breaking sound itself. The shock waves split the clouds, and he collided with the core eater in a burst of energy, so bright it lit up the dead city. The impact sent waves rippling through the air. Logan dug his claws into the bridge to hold steady. "He fights like a god," he muttered. Above, Superman punched through the creature's chest, only for the wound to seal instantly, energy crawling back in reverse. The core eater lifted an arm and slammed it into Superman, sending him crashing through 3 skyscrapers. Peter shouted, "He's losing power." Wolverine's claws extended with a metallic snarl. Not for long. He ran, no plan, no hesitation. He leapt onto a flipped transport truck, used it as a springboard, and lunged at the monster's leg. His claws tore through cosmic flesh, spraying liquid starlight. The core eater screamed, soundless but shaking reality itself. It grabbed Logan midair and hurled him across the city. Peter winced. Logan. No answer. Superman rose again, eyes glowing white-hot. "You want energy?" His voice thundered. "Then take mine." He blasted forward, releasing every ounce of solar power left in his body. The core eater roared as the sky turned into pure daylight. Clouds evaporated. Ocean steamed. But when the light cleared, Superman was kneeling, pale, shaking. The monster absorbed it all. Peter's voice cracked over the comm. "Superman, stop. You're feeding it." Static. Then silence. Logan's voice rasped through the dust. "Kid, that plan of yours, do it now." Peter scrambled, wires sparking as he forced the reactor online. His fingers bled, but he didn't stop. His heartbeat synced with the pulsing core inside the device. He whispered under his breath, "Come on, Tony. You'd have made this work." Behind him, a red blur flickered. Superman, barely standing, dragging himself back. "Need a delivery system." Peter looked at him, then at the reactor. "I've got one." Superman frowned. "You don't even have your powers." "Doesn't matter. I still know how to fall." He slung the reactor across his back, tightened the strap, and ran. Every muscle screamed. Every step burned. But he ran anyway, through debris, through heat, through the pull of the void itself. The core eater turned, eyes like collapsing suns. It reached for him. Superman saw it and launched forward, slamming into the creature's arm, buying Peter seconds. Just seconds. Peter jumped. No webs, no air, just gravity. He soared upward on pure will, reactor humming on his back, and aimed straight for the glowing core. The creature reached out, too slow. Peter tore the reactor free and screamed, "Lights out." He shoved it into the creature's chest. The arc reactor pulsed, flashing faster and faster, then inverted. A black sun ignited over the city. The explosion didn't sound like thunder. It sounded like every star screaming at once. Peter fell through smoke, vision blurring. He could see Superman rising again, shielding the city with his body. Logan dragging civilians from crumbling buildings below. The blast faded. The core eater staggered, but didn't die. Half its body was gone, the rest reforming. It was weaker now, slower, but alive. Superman landed beside Peter, eyes dim. "You did it." Peter coughed, laughing weakly. "No, not yet." Logan appeared, jacket torn, blood dripping from his lip. "We heard it, but next time it learns." Superman looked out over the burning skyline. "Then we'll learn faster." The core eater retreated into the clouds, body flickering like a dying flame. Peter sat up, staring at the sky. "It knows we can fight back now." Wolverine wiped his claws clean. "Good. Let it come again. This time, it won't just face gods. It'll face humans who refuse to die." Superman looked down at Peter. "You're still Spider-Man, Peter. Power or not?" Peter smirked faintly. "Then let's remind it what a man without powers can do." As the storm rolled back in and the ashes began to fall, 3 figures stood together for the first time. One from Krypton, one from the Canadian wilds, and one from Queens. Different worlds, one mission, and for the first time since the war began, Earth had a fighting chance. The silence after the explosion wasn't peace, it was warning. Ash drifted like snow over what was left of downtown Manhattan. Smoke spiraled through the holes in broken towers. The core eater had vanished into the sky, but its presence remained, like something was still watching, waiting. Peter adjusted the charred remnants of the reactor harness and limped forward. Every step felt like walking on knives, but he didn't stop. Not while people were still pulling each other out of collapsed buildings. Not while Superman hadn't said a word. Kal-El stood perfectly still at the edge of a ruined rooftop, cape torn, shoulders hunched like stone. His eyes weren't glowing. They weren't even red. They were dim. Peter stepped beside him. "You okay?" Superman didn't look back. "I can't feel the sun." Peter blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, I'm here, but the sun isn't. It's like the core eater took the light and buried it in the atmosphere. My body's not charging anymore. I'm running on memory." Peter's chest tightened. Superman wasn't just injured. He was bleeding time. Wolverine's voice broke the tension. "We've got movement south side. Something's tunneling beneath the city." Peter spun. "It's back already?" "No," Logan growled. "This is something different. Smaller. Smells like metal and rot. Might be a scout." He dropped to one knee and pressed his palm against the pavement. "Feel that?" Peter didn't. No spider sense. Just instinct. Then the street exploded. A jagged hole tore through concrete as something surged out from below. A skeletal machine, built from alien scrap and twitching nerves. Its body was part metal, part tissue. And its face wore the shape of Thor. Twisted, broken, reconstructed. Peter froze. "What the?" Superman's jaw clenched. "It's cloning them. From memory." The machine thing charged, swinging a molten hammer laced with void energy. Superman caught it mid-swing, but the impact sent them both flying into a nearby building. Peter dove aside as another machine burst out of the street, a mimic of Captain America, with a cracked shield and wires pulsing through its chest. Wolverine didn't wait. He roared and lunged, claws flashing. The shield met his swing and shattered on the second hit. Peter grabbed a fallen pipe and rammed it into the machine's back, giving Logan time to rip its head off. "Clones," Logan spat. "Mockeries." Superman returned, clothes burned, fists smoking. "It's trying to demoralize us, kill us with our own legends." Another figure emerged, this one smaller, black-suited, eyes white, shoulders twitching with unstable rhythm. It was Spider-Man. Peter stared at it. No. The clone cocked its head, mimicking Peter's stance perfectly. Peter stepped forward. "I've got this." Superman raised a hand. "Peter, don't." "I said I've got it." The clone attacked first, fast, too fast. Its movements were flawless, pure Spider-Man at his peak. Peter dodged left, then right. But without his powers, every miss came closer than the last. He rolled under a web shot and kicked the clone in the chest. It didn't flinch. "Cheap knockoff," Peter shouted, ducking another punch. The clone answered with silence and brutality. Peter staggered back, ribs cracking under a hit. His knees buckled. The clone raised its arm for the final blow. Then it stopped. Logan's claws punched through its back and out its chest. "Told you we don't play fair." Peter collapsed to his knees, breath wheezing. Superman crushed the last machine under a fist glowing with his remaining energy. The roof beneath them cracked. Peter looked up, bloody but alive. That wasn't just attack. That was a message. Superman nodded grimly. "He's testing our memories, turning us against ourselves, seeing how much it hurts." Wolverine crouched beside them, looking up toward the sky. "Then let's send a message back." The next hours were spent in motion. Peter coordinated evacuations, mapping out old Stark tech zones and redirecting survivors through subway tunnels. Superman stabilized collapsing bridges and redirected falling buildings, even though each flight drained what little charge he had left. Wolverine hunted. Anything that moved in the dark, anything that looked like it remembered a human name. He ended it. But as the night deepened, Peter knew they were stalling. They couldn't outrun this thing, and it wasn't afraid of them. By the second nightfall, the core eater's shadow was visible in the clouds, darker than dark, pulsing like a second moon. It was coming back, stronger, faster. Peter sat in an abandoned hospital, wrapping gauze around his cracked wrist, thinking of every failure he'd seen this week. Heroes gone, families lost, his own cowardice. He was so lost in thought he didn't hear Logan until the old man tossed a bottle of water into his lap. "You're doing that thing again," Logan said. Peter looked up. "What thing?" "Blaming yourself like it helps." Peter stayed silent. Logan sat beside him, back against the wall. You know what makes you dangerous, Parker? It ain't the webs or the powers. It's that brain, that guilt. You take every loss like it's your fault and still show up for the next fight. Peter looked at him. You think that's heroic? I think that's insane. But yeah, it's what keeps the rest of us from giving up. Superman walked in, slower than before, holding a map burned at the edges. The core eaters heading straight for the reactor zone in Jersey. If it gets there, it'll rupture the planet's magnetic core. Peter stood. Then that's where we make our stand. Logan popped his claws. About time. Superman's voice dropped low. I have enough energy for one more full-speed flight. One hit. Peter stared. What happens after that? Superman didn't answer. Logan stepped forward. Then don't miss. The plan was stupid, reckless, desperate. But so was every great moment in superhero history. As they suited up, Logan tightening his belt, Superman adjusting his scorched emblem, Peter taping down his cracked gloves, they weren't thinking about winning. They were thinking about making it hurt, making the core eater feel fear. Because for once, Earth wasn't just fighting with gods. It was fighting with men who refused to back down. Lightning cracked sideways across the sky, as if the Earth itself rejected what was coming. The core eater didn't return quietly. It descended like judgment. The clouds split open, not from weather, but from pressure, as if space bent under its weight. Its body wasn't solid anymore. It pulsed between matter and energy, half machine, half storm. Eyes glowing with the memory of every hero it had devoured. Superman stepped forward, his chest rising slowly. Each breath was heavier now. He hadn't flown in hours. The solar energy inside him was nearly gone, but his resolve burned brighter. Peter stood next to him, blood dried along his jaw, his hands trembling slightly, not from fear, but from readiness. Logan cracked his neck, claws extended. This time it doesn't walk away. The ground shook as the core eater touched down. Its arms were longer than before. Its chest, once pulsing, now showed faint silhouettes, faces. Thor, Strange, Captain Marvel. Their screams were silent, but visible, trapped in its core like warnings. Superman whispered. It's absorbed their consciousness. Peter's eyes narrowed. It's turning them into weapons. The creature opened its chest, and a storm of voices escaped. Mimics of every hero it had taken, mocking, repeating their last words. Tony's final joke, Carol's war cry, Strange's last spell. Echoes twisted. It charged. Superman met it halfway, faster than sound, the impact ripping through the city. They collided in midair, fist against void. Superman grunted, holding off, but it didn't budge. His strength was failing. The core eater had learned his rhythm. Wolverine leapt from a rooftop and buried his claws into its back. It didn't flinch. Peter moved, ducking falling debris, pulling out the last device they had, a modified magnetic disruptor he cobbled together from old Stark schematics. Not a weapon, an anchor, something to pin it, to freeze its molecular rhythm long enough for Superman to land one final hit. He activated it. The device hummed, then howled. The core eater paused, just a stutter, just a moment. And in that moment, Superman struck. All his power, all his will. One final hit. He punched through the core eater's chest, tearing a hole in the storm, ripping through time-locked particles, and stealing the breath from the sky. But the energy backlash hit him harder. Superman crashed to the ground, smoke rising from his back, unmoving. Peter screamed, Clark. Logan dragged himself toward the creature, one arm barely moving. Kid, it's weak. Now or never. Peter looked at the disruptor. Its core was overheating. If he rerouted it, he could implode the core eater's spatial integrity. But it would also erase everything within 100 meters. He had no web, no powers, just seconds and sacrifice. He ran, straight at it. His legs didn't stop. His mind didn't waver. This wasn't about powers. This was about responsibility. Peter leapt, shoved the device into the creature's core, and dove backward. The explosion wasn't bright. It was black, a vacuum implosion, folding the creature inward. The core eater screamed, not in anger, but in defeat, as its body collapsed, faces vanishing from its chest, storm fragments flickering out one by one. Then silence. Superman stirred. Logan stood. Peter lay unconscious, the wind carrying ash over his body. But the monster was gone, and Earth breathed again. Smoke lingered where the core eater once stood, its massive frame now nothing but dust and fragments of shattered space. The city didn't cheer. It didn't even move. The world just paused. Peter Parker didn't. He lay still beneath a collapsed highway beam, face bruised, suit torn beyond recognition, the disruptor's core still sparking near his feet. No heartbeat could be heard, no sign of power, no signal. Wolverine pushed rubble off his shoulder and limped toward him. His arm hung loose at his side, muscle torn, healing slower than usual. He didn't speak. Superman, burned and bloodied, dragged himself forward, his vision blurred, cape ripped to threads, knees barely holding him upright. But he kept walking, because he knew Peter had given everything. He dropped to one knee beside him. Peter wasn't breathing. Superman pressed his hand gently to Peter's chest. "Come on, kid, not like this." Wolverine stood behind him, silent. For the first time, the man of steel looked powerless. He closed his eyes and focused deeply, searching for a trace, a whisper, a flicker of life. He heard nothing, but then a heartbeat, weak, but there. Superman's eyes lit up, not with power, but with relief. He placed both hands on Peter's chest and pushed, not with force, but with controlled, rhythmic bursts of kinetic energy. Not CPR, something else, something Kryptonian. Peter gasped. His eyes shot open. He coughed violently, rolling to his side, lungs desperate for air. His fingers twitched, then clenched. Wolverine exhaled, stepping away. Tough little bastard. Peter looked around, dazed. "Did we win?" Superman nodded. "You stopped it. You saved the Earth." Peter smiled weakly. "No powers. No suit. Still got it." Superman smiled back. "You never needed the powers. You just needed to believe." Helicopters began circling above them. Emergency crews moved in. Civilians emerged from hiding. For the first time in days, the world was watching something not with fear, but with awe. Cameras zoomed in. Not on Superman, not on Wolverine, but on Peter Parker, bleeding, broken, standing without powers, and alive. News anchors whispered the headline before shouting it. Spider-Man powerless still fought the core eater. The world's final hope wasn't Kryptonian or mutant, it was human. As medics rushed in, Logan stepped back and looked at Superman. "I'm out. You got speeches to give. I got wounds to lick." Superman nodded. "You were the best of us today." Logan lit a cigar from a spark on his claw. "I usually am." He vanished into the crowd. Peter sat on the back of the medic truck, refusing the stretcher. He watched as Superman floated above the city, not to declare victory, but to show the world it still had heroes left. Different ones from everywhere. A child walked up to Peter, holding a tattered Spider-Man mask. "I found this," she whispered. Peter took it slowly, then looked her in the eye. "Thanks. Keep it safe. Might need it again." She smiled and ran back to her parents. Superman landed beside him. "You know, when I came here, I thought I'd be the one saving everyone." Peter looked out at the horizon, light breaking through the clouds. Turns out, Earth has its own way of fighting back. Superman extended his hand. Peter shook it. No suit, no powers, just a handshake between legends. The battle was over, but the legacy? That had just begun. End of story.